Mr. Arvind is today's speaker, and he is basically from electrical engineer from IIT Chennai, and he has done his MBA from IIM Calcutta, and a long experience with Deloitte and McKinsey for a long time. And he also have managed a e-commerce company for about 5 years. And for the last 5 years, from 2015 Jan onwards, he has a startup company who is actually doing data analytics on the sports. And I request Arvind to start. We are proud to be listening to you today. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'll actually share my presentation and then. Okay, my background is a lot like what SP said. Right? I've been doing startups for some time now. I think our most recent startup is just over a year old. It's called Kabaddi Adda. And it's what has inspired me to talk about this topic. We had a very, it is a very lucky startup, I would say. It evolved because there was always it seemed like there was a user demand, and this latent user demand was not something we had noticed. And to me, that was a big surprise, right? So I then went back and said, why aren't there enough startups that focus on Bharat? And why is there all of this business that's focused on, the reason I put this cover image is the background is India and the foreground is Bharat. And I thought hopefully it will kind of call out the dichotomy between the two. The India-Bharat divide, I think, is something that's been there. I don't know if it's part of urban culture. It doesn't get spoken about often. It is not the rural-urban divide, right? Just to be clear. So that is kind of the agenda. I think there's a lot of value for anybody who's looking to build a startup internally, or who's looking to actually help their organization think about the next set of things, right? I think given the vantage point from which all of us come into building business or expansions, we don't recognize what the customer wants, for lack of a better word. I think that's really the question. I'm not trying to present much today. My intent is to run a series of questions, and all of this is inspired by our experiences. So excuse me if it's not fully in line with what you think. And I would love to engage in a dialogue today. That's really my single goal for today's conversation. So without much, I'll jump in. As in, like SP said, I ran an e-commerce company, which is really an India business. And then the analytics company we ran also was predominantly India business. We worked with Chennai Super Kings. We worked with a few sports franchises with Saina Nehwal, Prakash Padukone. And we also did worked in Kabaddi with a franchise. I think what happened for us is that along the journey we discovered Kabaddi Adda, the latent demand for Kabaddi. So that's how we built out this business. It's just over a year old. I also have given a TEDx talk on this. I'll share the link right at the end. So if that's interesting, if the topic is interesting, you could go ahead. It's a short Kabaddi focused summary of this talk. Anyway, so I want you guys to just read this sentence, and I have a couple of questions. This is not my version of the sentence. So what it says is that India is a notional entity, largely anglicized and relatively better off, which obtained the legacy of colonial exploitation from the British. While Bharat is largely rural, agricultural, poor and backward, and is subjected to colonial-like exploitation even after the Raj. Can you guys guess? Does it make sense? I'd like a set of questions, right? So you can please feel free to unmute and respond.
Send a message, please go to the chat, and Rekha will be monitoring the chat and refer to the speaker.
Another question, right? When do you think this sentence was said? How recent is this? Which year do you think this sentence was written? Forget by whom. When do you think this sentence came out into public domain. SP, do you have a point of view?
Yeah.
When do you think the census came into public domain?
I think the focus on Bharat came somewhere when Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, somewhere in the late 80s or mid 80s or something like that.
There is another answer, 1960.
1960, okay.
I feel it would have come when the various computerization and all those things came up in the banks.
Right. Okay, so to me it was a big surprise, and a couple of times when I asked this question, I've mostly heard people talk about this in the 2015-16 context. Alex Sridhar said, right, very recently. Really, this sentence was written by the poet Sharad Joshi in 1978.
Oh, okay.
So this dichotomy, I think, has always existed. I think as business leaders, it's not something we have often paid enough attention to, right? And I think that is kind of, to me, it was a big surprise, right? Because when I first came across this, I was really surprised that this whole thing, this equation existed in 1978. And obviously, if people were writing about it back then, they were feeling it for many years before that, right? And I think there's a lot of that still happening. The intent for this is just to call out the difference between the two. We can kind of keep referring back to this dichotomy through the conversation today. So just to anchor this conversation, I wanted to share one statistic, right? This is the number of active internet users in India. We are almost half our population is now on the internet, which is a massive number. We are already the second largest internet population in the world. But how many of these users do you think are transacting online? So that means spending anything online, right? Any guesses? What percentage of these users do you think are transacting online?
Yeah, about 10 to 12%.
10 to 12%, okay.
And most of the others are entertainment or any other games, etc.
30%. So Subramaniam says 30% and Ashish says 3 to 5%. So, yeah, so I mean, we're all probably in the right range, right? So there is this whole belief. This number is anywhere. I mean, if you don't add railway tickets, it is in the 10 to 15% range. And if you probably add railway booking, it's roughly in the 30 to 45% range. Not 45, it's around 20 to 40% range. These numbers are very survey driven, right? So people have very ranging numbers depending on which survey you're willing to believe. So whether I'll give a more summary of all the numbers I have seen. And that, I think, is a very important point because while India is online, right? It is not really India, it's Bharat that is online and it is India that is transacting. And because it is India that is transacting, almost all of us are building businesses for India. See, the other reason all of us are building businesses for India is because we all come from the India diaspora as of today. Because we are working in a setting where everyone largely communicates in English. We are working with colleagues who think very similar to us. As a result, it's very easy for all of us to value a business like a Swiggy or a business like Zomato or a business like Ola. But what we're not understanding is these might not, and then say, okay, you know what, but the story for India is to take Ola to Raipur. But that is not probably what Raipur needs. And I think that, and it may not be something that Raipur is paid for. So, for example, when I gave the TEDx, it was in IIT Kharagpur. Swiggy, after expanding to all of Kharagpur, figured out that the only people in Kharagpur who are spending money on Swiggy are inside the IIT campus. So Swiggy actually became a solution to work inside the IIT Kharagpur campus, picking up restaurants from in that vicinity and delivering to kids inside the campus. And they realized that alone is more valuable business than trying to be in all of them, right? And that is a fantastic standout difference between India and Bharat in terms of what people are going, what users are engaging with. So I have another question, right, on this journey. What, obviously, I'm pretty sure everyone gets this. What do you think changed in 2017 if you look at this graph? Why is there that whole jump? So if you look at the graph, right, let me help. Yeah, I think it is Jio introduced cheap data. And I think what I've shown here is actually only the number of active internet users, not the time spent on the internet, right? That jump in this period and then from this period on is pretty much exponential. And that no, it is not demonetization. It is the access to it is Jio providing people access in a bite-sized package, and that has been that I think is what got a lot of online businesses to start recognizing that Bharat's needs are very different, because prior to that you had to pay for internet per use, so every usage was limited to a specific requirement. After Jio, you didn't need to pay for internet per use. It suddenly changed the behavior pattern of Bharat, where they shifted to saying, if you want to read our news, we use internet, right? And that journey is what we are saying helped us, and is something that I think entrepreneurs looking for Bharat need to attempt to capture. So let me pause and let me ask you guys what do you think this slide is trying to show? What is this slide of? Give me a one sentence description of all the names on this slide. And what do you think the number is? So Danya says these are all e-commerce guys. Okay. SP says these are all e-commerce. Srilal says these are all online services. These numbers must be very high. Okay. Ashi says these are all service applications. Subramanian says these are app-based services. And Danya comes back to saying these are all billion-dollar valued companies. Anyone else? Okay. So if you think, I think the answer is what Danya said. These are all billion-dollar companies, and the number in brackets is the year in which that company got valued as a unicorn, right? Unicorn is a very exciting word. It's tough to find. At this point, there are more evolved words. But InMobi was the first company from India that got valued at over $1 billion back in 2011. Right? And in this period, we have had 28 or 29. We've had 29 unicorns that have evolved over the last 9 years. And I mean, now that I've told you that these are the unicorns, how many of these businesses do you think are catered to Bharat, and how many of these do you think are catered to India? Okay, maximum focus on India from Rohit.
I am saying max, none to Bharat.
So you're saying maximum are focused, yeah. So according to me, and there is nothing, we can go through some of these names and see if you agree with me. According to me, these are the only three businesses who have a real Bharat focus, right? To give you some sense, CTS, let me just get out the point. To give you some sense, CTS, Icertis, Dhruva, and Postman are all India-US focused companies with an office in India and in the Bay Area, or India and the US, right? They all are very recent unicorns. Again, from this list, I think ShopClues was on this list. They turned unicorn somewhere in 2014, but they were recently sold for $100 million valuation after a really bad period. Snapdeal is probably a struggling company in this domain. But other than these three, the only other one who could probably be a Bharat ka company is Rivigo. What Rivigo does is provide trucking solutions. So they're at least improving supply chain for B2B businesses. The reason I'm calling them a Bharat business, just like Udaan, is between Udaan and Rivigo, their services are helping organizations reach Bharat faster. And I think the ability to reach Bharat is also priceless today, right? Today, people don't know how to get supply chains into Bharat easily. People don't know how to monetize your Bharat customers easily. Both Udaan and Rivigo have built on top of that. The rest of this list of 29 are all India focused, according to me. And that, I think, is where a massive opportunity lies. India is probably a population of, depending on how you would like to cut India, between 150 million to 200 million. There is 80% of your population is outside of this, right? And the potential opportunities have to be massive if we are able to understand what Bharat is looking for. So, to kind of talk a little bit about what Bharat is looking for, I am talking about a journey that I am personally very connected to, as opposed to being more generic in this. So this is a Pro Kabaddi story, right? And I want to kind of talk about it a little slowly. So season 1, I mean, all of you obviously know the Indian Premier League. So IPL launched in 2008, and obviously was a roaring success. A few leagues have launched along this way. Along with or before Pro Kabaddi League, there was a Premier Badminton League. There's a table tennis league. There's a volleyball league. There's a football league. So there are a few other leagues. It is not that they don't exist, but either Pro Kabaddi story is a very obviously as an organization, but also in terms of what it depicts, right? So season 1 happened in July, August 2014. Season 2 happened exactly a year later. Season 3 and 4 happened in 2016 suddenly. After they went through 2 seasons, they realized, we have the ability to probably run 2 seasons in the same year. So season 3 and season 4 happened in the same year, and each of these were 5-week seasons. So by doing season 3 and season 4, they basically added 10 weeks of Kabaddi into a year. Season 5 was then evolved from season 4 into a 10-week season, but a single 10-week season, which then became the template for season 6, which moved out to October to actually Jan 5th, 2019. It moved out because of secondary events, and they did not want to overlap the 2018 PKL with the Asian Games, right? So they moved it out, and then 2019 had the most recent season was back to the July-October slot. Now, the reason I actually spent a little bit of time to talk about is, in 2014 they launched a league with 5 weeks of gameplay, which is now 10 weeks of gameplay in 5 years, in which 7 seasons are already done, and it's going extremely strong, right? And at the launch of the league, there were a lot of questions. Why are we doing a Kabaddi league? So it was a very interesting ownership. In the start, there were 8 teams, and the total purse, this is not the amount paid to one player, but the total purse spent on creating a squad for each franchise was rupees 60 lakhs per franchise. What do you think that number is today in 2019? 1 crore. 100 times more. Yeah, 100 times more is what it should have been, Bhaskar, but it isn't. Where the number has grown 4x, I think 2x, right? It is now 4.4 crores. But what is interesting is it's not 8 teams, it is now 12 teams. So the Pro Kabaddi League now has more teams than the Indian Premier League after being around for 12 years, right? What made PKL so interesting? In the first season of PKL, there were 435 million viewers for the league, right? And that in itself was a massive number, because the IPL was around 500 million in terms of viewership. So there has never been a television asset, live television asset, that had ever gotten close to the IPL. That is why the IPL was able to generate the kind of revenues it has been able to generate, right, for years after years. Now, fast forward to 5 years later, the league has had almost over a billion of viewership, over a billion, with 316 million coming from urban India and 872 million coming from rural India. So this is a quintessential Bharat versus India story, right? The minute you're able to get Bharat excited in your product, and in this case, I don't think you needed to do anything to get Bharat excited. Kabaddi was always a sport that Bharat played. It was just a sport that nobody was able to imagine on television. And I think the thanks that you have to give to Anand Mahindra, Star Sports, and the franchisees who had the ability to stick with the league who were willing to put out this league. I think was very exciting, and the opportunities that it has provided for everyone has been fantastic. Right? For us personally, somewhere in this journey in 2016, we had a couple of people in our team who really followed the sport, and nobody else in our office had even followed the league. We said, "ठीक है, कुछ कबड्डी चल रहा है," and they kind of pushed us to saying, "Can we build a business?" Or actually, there was no question, "Can I build a business? Can we put out some content about kabaddi?" So we actually put out a YouTube channel in end of 2017. Right? For the first year, we didn't have a YouTube channel. We just had a website. In 2016, we put a website where we started doing a lot of our analytics, where we put out predictive analytics on what is likely to happen in every match, right? And we got some traffic on that website. It's quite surprising to us because we just put a website and we were able to get traffic without doing anything, right? So we didn't need to do any marketing, but people started showing up. People were reading about what we were writing, and we were writing it all in English. So people were spending less than a minute on our page. So for us, it was like, "Log aa rahe, but why they're not spending time? Is it the quality of the article? Are they not able to read it?" No, right? But we kept the website going for another year and a half. In 2017, we put out the YouTube channel, and we just forgot about it. There was no big story there. We put the YouTube channel, we put a few videos on it, and a couple of months later, we came back and we were like, "Oh my God, this channel already has 2,000 people following it." And we're like, why are 2,000 people following the channel? And then we said, "Okay, can we put some structure to it?" So early 2018 to mid 2018, we kind of put a little more of a structure. We started putting a few videos regularly, and the 2,000 became 40,000 subscribers. Today in 2020, we are already at 250,000 subscribers on that YouTube channel. Right? We have not spent a single rupee marketing the business. We have not even tried to ask people, "Please come watch." We have put content out there. What we did in 2016 on putting out an English website versus what we are in 2020 is a YouTube channel which is Hindi focused. We also have a website now that has variety of content, which also is getting much more traffic than our 2016 website, almost 5x more traffic. We also have incorporated a company now just over a year ago, February last year, which is focusing on just building out kabaddi. Our vision is simple. Can we make kabaddi great again? It's a very simple vision because we believe Bharat is the customer exists, right? The customer really enjoys the sport, which is what the Pro Kabaddi story told us. We didn't do anything about it. Pro Kabaddi, we just like Pro Kabaddi put out an asset, promoted it like it should be, but the traffic was immense, right? It was not like you needed to pay people money for them to show up and engage on the product. I think that entire experience has been very valuable for us, and I think it's taught me a few things, right? So I want to summarize my learnings in Bharat, in Pro Kabaddi experiences, and what we built with Kabaddi Adda. We always talk about doing market testing, right? For us, the entire market testing experience was, I would say, luck, providence. But what the market testing showed us is that there is tremendous latent demand. Our market testing was a website in English and then a YouTube channel in Hindi, and the difference in behavior that we got, right? It showed us that if we try and even understand what people want, that's more than enough. So that it helped us move from analytics to content. It showed us a pent-up latent demand. And most importantly, our big observation is that everyone's first connect to the internet seems to be content. So people log in and want to just consume content. They are not searching for what they want. Once they find one thing they want, the internet is recommending to them things in this exact same direction as what they've already seen. So we asked ourselves a question on how can you build on top of this ecosystem, right? And I want to pause a bit, and I would like to get responses from people on how do you think you can build on top of this ecosystem at your own end, right? I've shared some observations with you about what worked for us. I would like to understand, if you were to build a business of Bharat, what would you think is important? Okay, so I'm not going to progress till I get responses here. I want each of you to think about this and tell me if you. So what does our story say? Our story said we started a website. We were an analytics company. We were putting analytics content out there. Got some traction. We moved to a website. We just covered basic news, and we put a YouTube channel where we were sharing content, right? The YouTube channel is now at, like I said, 250,000 subscribers, 25 million views is what we've had in the last year for that channel. And we've had over 2 million page views for our website and about 500,000 people who have visited our website over the last year, right? So that's kind of where we are in a year's time. If given that you have this information, given the information we already have, just Jio has helped a lot of Bharat to come on, right? People are spending more time on the internet. That's one piece of information. The second piece of information you have is our specific Pro Kabaddi story, right? Our specific Kabaddi Adda story, the general Pro Kabaddi story. These three pieces of information if you have, and I tell you, I would like to go out there and solve something for Bharat. What is the default thing you think about? So Srilal says, entertainment will continue to grow. So if it can plow back to the growth of Bharat itself, it would drive upliftment, yes. But the question I have is actually, if you have to build a business, don't worry about whether you have the money, you have the time, you have the funding. Let's assume all of that will come. If you're able to pitch a proposal, what would your proposal be for Bharat? I think that thinking is a little bit important before I progress, right? Is it focus on language, regional languages? Yeah. Actor Vijay has correct. Yeah, so KVR, I think that's a very interesting point, right? Focus on language is definitely one thing I would say is key to building a business that is focused on Bharat. And that is one of the messages I wanted to kind of also show you when we in one of the previous slides, right? So when I was on this slide, one of the main questions I did not ask back then, which I wanted to bring up, is how many of these platforms do you think have achieved, have in the last 2 years said we want to be multi-language platforms? Right? We don't see much today, but almost all of these internet platforms, Swiggy is now in multi-language, Byju's is in multi-language, Hike is in multi-language, Zomato has moved to multi-language, Freshworks obviously is not, Delivery is not. Again, Rivigo is for Bharat, Big Basket is doing multi-language, and all of these are businesses that are still focused on India who have already invested heavily in multi-language. To me, that's something that speaks a message, right? It speaks that all of these people are saying, you know what, if we don't start thinking multi-language, there's a very high challenge for all of us, right? So my personal belief, and I think we are completely in the domain of personal beliefs today, and I think that is my big objective from this conversation, for everyone to create a personal opinion about building an answer for Bharat, is that language will be super valuable for this audience. Like Vatsala said, right, you need to identify the target audience. So are you focused on a Hindi audience? Are you focused on a Tamil audience? Are you focused on a Marathi audience? Right? Are you focused on the audience from Kerala? So because there's a startup we know who's now doing just football for Kerala alone, right? And they're getting very surprisingly very high traction also. I think Ashish has said something interesting. So everyone wants to eat something different. So food and online education with geo reaching Bharat. My personal opinion is right that while Bharat cares about food, they don't care about food coming home. They are happy to walk to the new restaurant nearby, drive to the new restaurant nearby, and eat. Like so, if you find the ability to open a chain across 20 tier 2 and tier 3 towns profitably, that might be fantastic. But I don't think they care about, for example, I don't think the Swiggy solution is relevant even today, right?
Okay.
Now, my point of view, because I mean, it's a single observation. The Kharagpur example, right? Where they had to, they were, go ahead.
I'm listening to you, sir.
No, if you disagree, it'll be, I have no issues. I would like to, I don't want to check it.
Actually, whatever you are saying is information for me. I'm not from this field. I'm from Defense Armed Forces. So whatever came in my mind, I just told you.
I think it's a very fair point, right?
Yeah.
Is that if if Bharat cares about a set of things, I think we are still at the stage where Bharat is just figuring out the internet, right? Especially when it's all in English, and
Yes.
Their default language of engaging with content is their local newspaper, their local content. Their predominant communication is vernacular, right? And we are now limited by our ability, because we all naturally communicate in English. The first website we put out is an English focused platform, right? The first thing,
Right.
for example, when we did Kabaddi, we consciously put our YouTube channel to be only in Hindi. We didn't even consider a secondary option, right? With the website, we still weren't able to first make the default Hindi, because our coders code in English. We think in English. All of us in the organization are able to write articles in English. But writing the same article in Hindi was not easy. So by default, I had to start writing in English and then translate to Hindi. Right?
Okay.
I think vernacular content will be extremely important. I think Srila is making a comment, right? So getting agricultural produce from rural to urban, supply chains combined as rural slangs. So I'll just read that in parts, right? So the urban supply chain is in itself, is the rural urban supply chain is a massive business. So Rivigo has built its entire story on saying, I will improve the supply chain. And that's it. They became a unicorn in less than 3 years or 3.5 years of existence. No, 4 years of existence. They became a $1 billion company, right? All they try to do is improve supply chain operations. And I think if you start looking at Bharat, right, the opportunity will exist in every single space. So, for example, if you take food, the opportunity might be massive. If you're able to solve the problem in a way that enough people can reach it. The main reason the internet is often okay. So Danya asked, what does Rivigo do? Okay, so does anyone know what Rivigo does? Actually, that's a good point. I didn't think about it. Okay, so
you mentioned that it's a trucking solution to make things reach from India to Bharat, sir.
Okay, so I think I obviously used a very summarized sentence. So Rivigo started with a simple vision. They said, see, the most important asset for any logistics enterprise is the truck. It is not the driver, right? What happens with almost every logistics company is that a truck is assigned to a driver, and the truck and the driver, when going from Delhi to Bombay, from Delhi they reach Jaipur, then they take a nap. So the truck and the driver both take a nap. Then the truck and the driver go from Jaipur to Udaipur. Then both of them again take an 8-hour nap because they need to be safe. And then both of them again go to Ahmedabad, take a nap, and then they show up in Bombay. Right? That is the story of a journey. But the asset, which is a truck, doesn't need an 8-hour nap. The asset that is a driver needs an 8-hour nap. They just did one transition. They converted the truck and driver into two independent assets and said the truck asset should move continuously from Delhi till Bombay. If that asset moves continuously, you will save 15 to 18 hours in the journey. Right? That is an extra journey every 3 journeys. So that is 25% more revenue for the trucker. What did that require? That required you to take the second asset, the driver, out of the issue. So what they created is a simple relay system. So the truck and the driver show up at Jaipur. This driver gets off, a new driver gets back on, and the truck continues. So every driver now only drives in segments. He gets off at an interim segment, and then he takes a return vehicle, whichever is at that point. So all they did is, it's very trivialized version, but this is what they provided. They provided a relay solution for trucks to move faster. They obviously then improved it by adding their own vehicles, and given that they had the solution, they were able to generate almost 25 to 40% higher revenues than every other operator in the market in the same period of time with the same amount of investment in infrastructure. In trucks, right? That is a Rivigo story. That is it. What they realized is that the truck drivers who are from Bharat would love to spend time with family. And the minute you provide, so they made the truck drivers' happiness central to their pitch, right? Their investment in the truck driver story, in the truck driver, in the person who comes from Bharat, is what allowed them to create a group of really happy, empowered partners. It allowed them to get their partners to work harder, but yet be able to reach home much more frequently, right? And as a result, they were able to minimize losses. They were able to minimize unexplained delays. A lot of the secondary issues that happened with the supply chain were all removed without needing to put over investment in monitoring, CCTV, all of the other things that people are going through. Okay? What it took for Rivigo to achieve this is to look very closely at the problem and say, who are the people in this problem? There are all of these truck drivers who are from Bharat who are not being considered while every solution is being built. Every solution was all about saying, I will expand my fleet capacity. Right? I think so every solution was really about saying, I will expand my fleet capacity. And I think the thinking on the part of Rivigo and to some extent on Udaan, and I think I should probably talk about some of those Bharat businesses maybe. But to me, what they brought was the willingness to look at every person from Bharat and customize their solution because of that audience. Okay. So Sridhar made a very interesting point, right? Which is that getting agricultural produce from rural to urban. So that's what motivated the Rivigo example on my end. He also mentioned that if you look closely at our local fishing communities or any local community, local fishing community is an example, I think. He's also saying there's a lot of local slangs, facial movements, postures, and religions that go into local decision making. If there's a tool that can somehow mirror local decision making for local commerce, it might be priceless. Is that what you said, Sridhar?
I think that's right.
Okay, thanks. Because I wanted to, because I found that very insightful. Because if I'm asking you to say, how can you build on top of this? One big story is being vernacular. Another big story, I think, exactly like you pointed out, is about being very contextual to a small local market. So there's a colleague of mine called Vikas who works with me in Kabaddi Adda. And one of the things Vikas has always spoken to me about is saying, I want to build a solution for Gopalganj. So Vikas lives in Gopalganj. I want to build a solution for everyone in Gopalganj to have a simple access to a notice board. I mean, notice board is not a fair word. I'm just simplifying. What he's saying is everything that happens in Gopalganj, I want people to know. if there is, I want people to be able to find information easily, right? So I want to know if I want to file a court case in Gopalganj, I want to know the number of a case. If I want to know what event is going to happen tomorrow, and I want it to be in my local language for my little local population. It's a little like what you were saying, Srilal, right? I think if you come up with a solution, if you're able to think about creating a nice, simple local answer for your local community that you understand, and thankfully we got lucky with Kabaddi. I would say lucky because we didn't go find the community. We put content, the community found, and then we said, oh, this is a community. Now let's build a business around it, right? I think every time people look for that it gives you the opportunity to build something from there. So that's what I wanted to kind of stay on. I think there are a couple of very interesting thoughts. So if there are any more thoughts, now might be a really good time to chat. Or I can move on, right?
Arvind?
Yeah?
I have a question. So, although you're saying 60 to 70% of Indian population is in Bharat, but 60 to 70% of the Indian money is in India, right? So, why will I build a business for Bharat?
See, I think it's a very interesting. This is very analogous to what we've done with Kabaddi, right? You would also think of corporate India and businesses and services that are trying to distribute their products to Bharat as people needing a distribution channel or a mechanism to connect with Bharat more specifically. So let us take Vikas as example, and if Vikas wants to build this local community in Gopalganj, and he, 90% of Gopalganj is on his local platform actively responding. He's built a business only for Bharat, right? But where will Vikas make his money from? He'll make his money because ITC wants to sell more chips in Gopalganj. If they want to sell more chips in Gopalganj, whom do they reach out to? There isn't a good solution today. Today they have to reach out to every distributor in Gopalganj, then get them to share, speak with each one individually, convince them. But through Vikas's online platform, or online notice, I don't know what his platform is. I'm making this up given some of the conversations I've had with him. But through that platform, what he's provided a business based out of India and a set of businessmen based out of India is an opportunity to connect with consumers in Bharat. So he's still producing a content, vernacular language, content business, which is relevant to the local population. But he's generating his revenue from businesses in India who have built products for Bharat. I would think that is one of the main reasons you should build for Bharat. Your initial revenues will not come from transactions. So you should not expect that, as we discussed in the earlier slide, right? The transactions revenue is coming almost, and I would argue, Danya, unlike what you said, that maybe 90% of the online transaction revenue will be spent in from customers in India, right?
Correct.
But the customers in Bharat is a volumes game. It is, I think, something that we once spoken is that the volumes game is most relevant if you're allowing India businesses to market and sell to Bharat. It's a lot like the television ecosystem, right? You get more viewership, you generate more revenue. I think it's important to think of it in that context, according to me. I mean, if there's a different point of view, it will be really nice to hear also.
So let me paraphrase what you said. You're saying we need to build channels for India, money from India to go to people in Bharat.
I'm not saying we need to
access the market. You need to create a pipe to access that market.
Yes, I am actually saying I'm saying if you have a pipe, you are likely to get the money for which India is willing to spend to access Bharat. But what I'm articulating is that it is important. Your business should be relevant for 200 people without you needing to tell them, "Bhai, use kar le, khana kharido." This is not. You don't need to tell people to buy your business. They should want to come to your business. It's a lot like, why are newspapers able to survive? They've created this pipe, like as you would call it, right? So but that is obviously my bias towards content. I think what Vikas shared, what Srilal shared, which is creating more than a pipe, right? Which is creating a locally relevant service. It is very likely that if you create a locally relevant service, that there is a small subscription fee that you could take from users for wanting to access the service anytime, right? Assuming that your service is providing a value for users, which is providing them information that they want on a weekly or a monthly basis. I don't know if that transaction will come online, but if you are locally relevant, it is likely that you can bring local transactions online. You see, I don't believe that the Bharat story is just one of not having money, right? The Bharat story is one of not being comfortable spending money in an unknown platform. And the internet is an unknown platform.
Correct.
To think about India has been connected to the internet from 2008 very actively, right? We had our first unicorn itself in 2011. And by 2012 or 13, Flipkart was a unicorn. So India has been on the internet for almost 5 or 6 years before we got our first unicorn. You have to give Bharat the same time, right? Assuming that Jio is a switch that brought Bharat online, which is around 2016, 17, and even today people are still coming on. If that is the thing, 2021, 22 onwards is when you start seeing Bharat even willing to transact online in a very coherent, concerted manner, as opposed to just one-off buys, right? So I think till Bharat starts transacting online, you will have to figure out a way for Bharat to first come online. And I think the businesses that help Bharat to come online will be very relevant when Bharat starts transacting because they will be trusted businesses. That is, again, my personal belief.
Recently, Arvind, I just wanted to add
on the call, okay.
Yeah, so recently Swiggy launched their services in Gopalganj, and they have like 6-7 restaurants on their portal, and they're doing good. Like they're doing good business. Same way, say Ola tomorrow goes to Gopalganj, because I know like 50 people who owns fleet of cars, Scorpios, Boleros, and they are renting it out. But the current system is you have to call people, you have to ask them ki aapki gaadi khali hai ki nahi. So all these things are there. But Ola is solving that problem. So tomorrow if they go and launch in Gopalganj, there are people who are willing to take those services. And I believe there is enough disposable income in every household for these kind of services. So money, I don't think is a problem even in these small towns.
No, I completely agree. I don't think money is ever the problem. That's what I was just sharing, right? I think the trust of paying online is the problem. And I think trust is not going to be built. I mean, obviously in a specific market like Gopalganj, you will probably generate certain interest, right? If you have to solve for 200 communities with the same solution, it is not trivial. Ola obviously has created a brand over a few years. So hopefully getting some customers in Gopalganj to spend money on Ola may not be tough. And once you get it started, you are probably likely to continue because Ola, Uber and all have clearly solved a problem, right, for all of us. I mean, they're solving a problem for people who have vehicles. It's solving a problem for people who want vehicles. But I would still believe that the transaction volume will be nothing like what you would imagine in India for the exact same service, right? And I think that is where I'm saying if you want to get regular transactions online from Bharat, you will have to build trust. And so almost every solution you build should be focused on bringing trust into the ecosystem, into the equation. I believe our Kabaddi Adda story is a little like that, right? So let me just kind of put this slide up, talk about it for 2 minutes, and come back to both of you, your current questions, right? So I think the evolution curve for vernacular India will be a little like this. There's a lot of content today. You know, people are getting better and more content through videos, audios, images, memes, all of that. There are different content distribution platforms today, from your TikToks. And one of the reasons TikTok is probably there. They're just a simple content distribution platform. A user doesn't have to do anything. He just flips through, sees some entertainment, follows some content, moves on. Right? There's absolutely nothing there. From content, people will probably evolve into news and more, right? Which is read your news, write a comment, engage in a conversation from your news. The reason I've put entertainment as something that comes beyond content and news is because entertainment is more involved time spending on the internet, right? You have to install a game, you have to install an application, you have to go beyond just going through a website and flipping through things to having more apps and optimizing space and realizing, oh, I've run out of space on my phone. I think once these three kind of become comfort, and I think Bharat is already different ecosystems of Bharat are at different points of actualization on these three businesses, is when learning will kick in. I think learning is still something that predominantly India is consuming on the internet, mainly because learning is still English focused, not because Bharat doesn't want to consume it, because learning is still predominantly English solutions. As people like Udemy and all are now building vernacular solutions, they're starting with building the first Hindi solutions. Learning is likely to become the natural evolution of where people spend more time, right? And I think when Bharat starts learning online is when you would have achieved that ability of trust for a large part of Bharat to start purchasing online. And these may not be multi-year journeys, right? You might move from, content, news and entertainment evolved fairly quickly. But there are still people at different phases on this actualization journey itself. But when you go from entertainment to purchase, the switch is that I'm going from being a consumer who's just receiving to being a consumer who's also giving, right? And that transition for a consumer is what people are trying to achieve. My personal belief is that one of the reasons the Jio valuation is being so massive is not because Jio has got 500 million Indians online, but because Jio has the entire ecosystem. They have content, they have news, they have entertainment. They are now already going into learning and they will soon go into purchase. They already have purchase solutions for retail. I think it is a Jio ecosystem of products that is getting valued and not the Jio telecom entity itself. Because Jio is really going way beyond saying I'm providing you a way to come on the internet. Because I bought a Jio phone, I get 15 Jio apps free, and every one of those Jio apps does a few different things. Each Jio app is starting to see traction today or not seeing traction. But the fact that they are able to provide content, news, entertainment and earn trust will allow them to move the consumer to a purchase ecosystem much faster than almost any other platform. Which is probably their pitch when they're able to raise money at these valuations, and the fact that they're able to raise money from 10 different marquee investors, right? So, I mean, on this slide, I wanted to kind of pause and come back to you, Vikas. So you were talking about the Ola and the Swiggy examples, right? I think the Ola and the Swiggy examples are that your micro community has some trust and is able to start purchasing online. If you get most of your, for a new business, if let's say you launch Vikas Taxi Services in Gopalganj, what is the likelihood that you'll get a customer to originally be willing to spend money, right? That is my argument, that for you to build that trust would be much easier to start with either content or entertainment, the natural way, in the natural language for that local market. That is probably how I believe vernacular India will start getting comfortable transacting. And that is why new age platforms are going to be very valuable. Every platform that can build trust. For example, Dream11 has now started DreamPay, right? Dream11 was able to build trust with all of their other businesses beyond just the cricket fantasy game. I think once you build trust, moving to getting people to transact on larger set of options is probably a much easier answer. And I think that is something that anyone who's building for Bharat should very actively consider. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to kind of hear from you guys at this point again, right?